Hey, what's up, guys? LegalBro here. We've got the first network interview of SBF with George Stephanopoulos. Let's figure out if Sammy is digging a hole to China or if he's winning fans with this interview. I'm sure his lawyers told him to put a sock in it, but we're going to find out if he opened his mouth. I'm guessing he did.
The founder of the cryptocurrency exchange FTX, and George, we know that you traveled down to the Bahamas to speak with him.
In that penthouse that he said, and used to work with his former colleagues at FTX, now alone with his parents. And Robin, this was really something, a wild interview. Almost 2 hours we sat down. It felt at times like a therapy session. He took every tough question. He wanted to speak out about all the questions surrounding this collapse. Remember, about a month ago, he was worth about $20 billion. Now he says he's worth $100,000. He's under investigation by prosecutors and regulators.
You all can find. I'm sure he's got something in the Cayman Islands or somewhere.
A lot of people look at you and see Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
Check.
I mean, I don't think that's who I am at all, but I understand why they're saying that. People lost money, and people lost a lot of money. And I mean, at the end of the day, look, there's a question of what happened and why, and who did what caused the meltdown. And I think that reads very differently, right? When you look at the classic Bernie Madoff story, there was no real business there. The whole thing, as I understand it, I think, was just one big Ponzi scheme, right? FTX, that was a real...
Sam. Let's not try to distinguish yourself from Bernie Madoff, and let's not maybe be so smug. Like, just sit there and say, yeah, I screwed up. This is on me. Not, yeah, some things happen. Some people lost some money. But it's not Bernie Madoff because FTX was a real thing. Yeah, it was your own way of taking consumer money and spending it like it was your own on all this lavishness that you claimed you weren't about. The deception is the same, in my opinion. The mechanism, right? I mean, it's a hedge fund versus a crypto exchange, but it's the same thing. You're still not being upfront with your customers. You're stealing from them, Sam.
You just need FTX.
Oh,
it's FTX.
Keep Tom
it's
Brady
a safe and
out
easy
of
way
it.
to get into crypto.
I don't think so.
Super Bowl ads, naming stadiums, Steph Curry, Gisele Bundchen.
We did a lot of things to try and bolster our reputation, to try and, help our brand.
But in the early morning hours of November 11th, it all came to an end when FTX filed for bankruptcy.
Now, if you haven't seen my other videos, go back and take a look. I put all of the FTX filings, the Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and the new CEO, what he has to say about Scam Boy Fried. Giving it to you for free. You can download it. You can keep it. I highlighted the parts I thought was important.
And Bankman-Fried stepped down as CEO amid reports of FTX customer funds being used to pay Alameda Research creditors. This confirmed by former Alameda CEO Carolyn Ellison during an early November video meeting with employees. Alameda, the crypto trading firm, also founded by Bankman-Fried. ABC News reached out to Carolyn Ellison for comment, but has not heard back. One of the reasons
she's probably cutting a deal right now with the feds,
because FTX deposits were used to pay Alameda's creditors. Carolyn Ellison said you knew about that. Is that true?
Best I can tell, Alameda did have a big position open on FTX. That position, I think, was very over collateralized a year ago.
Thank you for dodging the question, Sam.
Collapse and specifically a large correlated collapse in its assets, over the last month and to some extent over the last year that threatened that position quite a bit. And I think that's, as best I understand, a lot of what happened there.
I am no cryptocurrency expert. I'm no finance expert, but I don't think you answered my question. I was asking, did you know that FTX deposits were used to pay off Alameda creditors?
It's not that hard of a concept, folks. He's one of the smartest kids, graduated from MIT. He's got this booming business. He's apparently worth billions, and he doesn't understand the concept of FTX moving consumer funds to Alameda to pay off Alameda creditors. He doesn't understand that concept. Now he's playing dumb. Do you believe it?
I don't know of FTX deposits being used to pay off Alameda creditors. Are you... Which creditors are you referring to?
Carolyn Ellison said that you all knew that these funds were put into Alameda. They were the funds
Remember, Sam owns 90% of Alameda. You don't think he knew?
Owned by your depositors.
So I can't speak for who knew what. You know, a lot of the customers on FTX did have, borrows either, in dollars or Bitcoin or euros.
But as you know, the FTX terms of service tell the people who signed up, none of the digital assets in your account are the property of or shall be or may be loaned to FTX trading. But you're saying that happened.
My understanding is a few things happen. The first is there is a margin trading facility on FTX by which users can lend out funds, by which other users borrow funds. And so there are explicit cases where there is, margin extended, where there is borrow lending.
The margin's extended to
Alameda is borrowing
FTX?
the money that belongs
Yep.
to FTX depositors, that's a bright red line, isn't it?
There are a lot of cases where that's actually explicitly part of the programs and that are
But
happening.
You'd
in
have
your
to
already.
It says that the
lay
digital
that
assets
out,
may not
Sam.
be loaned to FTX trading. They can't be loaned out.
There existed a borrow lending facility on FTX. And I think that's probably covered, I don't remember exactly where, but somewhere else in the terms of service.
But they'd have to approve of that. They're saying they didn't approve of it here. They're saying you approved of it.
If you rewind to the beginning of FTX, where
Was he almost laughing?
some customers were, I think in line with sort of existing relationships that they've had, at least in some cases, wiring money straight to Alameda Research in order to trade on FTX.
So you do know, and you did know, that FTX deposits were being funded.
That's big there, folks. What Sam is saying to George is that before FTX, these consumers wire money to Alameda to be able to use FTX, I think is what he's trying to get at here. Meaning he did know that FTX consumers were paying Alameda creditors, I think is where we're headed.
Alameda.
So I was vaguely aware that that was how some wires were being sent in the first place.
Didn't that set off alarm bells in your head?
So there are a lot of people who are involved in that process. And look, I really deeply wish that I had taken like a lot more responsibility for understanding what the details were of what was going on there. I knew that legal was involved. I knew that other groups at the company were involved, that there were agreements drafted up.
But you're ultimately responsible.
And ultimately, absolutely,
Blame the
I
lawyers,
should have
Sam.
been
Terms of
on top
service
this,
suck,
and
right?
I feel really, really bad and regretful that I wasn't. And
Maybe
a lot of
because he
people
didn't
got
tell
hurt,
his lawyers
and
what he was doing,
that's on
because they
me.
would have told him, hey, Sam,
Here's what
that's
Mark
illegal.
Cuban
You're
has
going to
to
end
say
up in
about that.
federal
Yep.
prison.
He said, if I were him, I'd be afraid of going to jail for a long time.
At the end of the day, it's not my call what happens, and the world will judge me as it will.
Are you worried about going to jail?
There are a lot of things that are worrying me right now. And, as best as possible, I'm trying to focus on what I can do going forward to be helpful and, let whatever, regulatory and legal processes are happening play out as they will.
I do want to move on, but just finally on
Yep.
this. This is really a yes or no question.
Yep.
Carolyn Ellison says you knew that FTX funds were being funneled to Alameda. Did you know that?
I knew that there is an open margin position there and that involved
I know, but
a
that's not what I'm
dollar borrow.
asking. If she's in court and you're in court and she's under oath and you're under
Yep.
oath and you're asked, did you know that these funds were being funneled to Alameda, what is your answer?
I did not know that there is any improper.
And there you have it, folks. Case closed. He's calling Carolyn a liar. She'll be ending up calling him a liar. I'm guessing she's going to be the government's main witness against Sam. Hopefully, we're going to see this thing play out in court. If it's in federal court, unfortunately, we're not going to see any video version. Remember, federal court is not allowed for you to video record, but you can get audio from some of the courts so that we can hear testimony and things like that. Importantly here, at the end, Sam made sort of a stunning admission that he may have known, but he didn't know it was improper. I think that's what he was getting at. Either way, what he is saying is that he and the CEO do not agree. The CEO said he knew, and Sam's saying he had no idea. Seems a
customer
little
funds.
fishy, Sammy.
You also took out a $1 billion loan. What was that for?
That was generally for reinvesting in the company. That was not for, consumption. To my knowledge,
We're gonna
I have
find out
basically nothing
where
left.
that billion went, Sam.
Basically everything I had was invested in the business. I expect I'm gonna have nothing at the end of this. I think I had $100,000 left in my bank account last I checked, and I think I have,
I'm calling BS,
one credit
Sam.
card working with that right now.
Earlier this summer, you thought you had, what, $32 billion?
Probably 20, but a whole lot more than I do now.
I can't imagine what it feels like to go from $20 billion to $100,000.
Yeah, it's been a really humbling fall in a lot of ways.
How do you explain the failure? Was it inattention, arrogance?
It's a good question.
Was it unethical?
Some part of it was just literal
Seems like the answer
distraction.
is yes to all
I
of that.
really should have spent some time each day taking a step back and saying, what are the most important things here, right? And how do I have oversight of those and make sure that I'm not losing track of those? And frankly, I did a pretty incomplete job at that. I spent a lot less time looking at assets and looking at balances and positions because that's not where revenue came from. And so I wasn't seeing it as a core business driver. Obviously, it was a core risk, and that was a huge mistake of mine to not think more about that.
You said one of your great talents in a podcast was managing risk.
That's right. And
Well, it's obviously wrong.
well, I think that there's something maybe even deeper wrong there, which was I wasn't even trying. I wasn't spending any time or effort.
He wasn't even trying. He wasn't spending any time or effort. Can you imagine if you invested in this guy? Think about the first video where we talk about Sammy and the documentary that came out where somebody loaned him $200 million as he's playing a video game. And this is the guy that was going to hold the torch and make you money? Are you kidding me? He said he didn't put the time, no effort. Disgraceful.
Trying to manage risk on FTX, and that obviously
That's
that
a
was
stunning
mistake.
admission.
What?
That's a pretty stunning admission.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. What happened, and if I had been spending an hour a day thinking about risk management on FTX, I don't think that would have happened. I think I stopped working as hard for a bit. Honestly, if I look back on myself, I think I got a little cocky, maybe more than a little bit, and I think part of me felt like,
As I said, that was a pretty stunning admission. The whole job of the head of a firm like that is managing risk.
Risk, exactly. And he reached out.
Desperately. He went against the advice of his lawyers. He thanked me at the end. Like I said, we talked for close to 2 hours, and you saw he didn't flinch.
Oh,
with tough
George,
questions,
he's
but
no
he
hero,
really had a hard
buddy.
time at times
Give him a couple more
answering
softballs, why
them,
don't you?
And he just wants to speak his mind. Now, one of the reasons he said he wants to speak his mind is he still hopes that in some way he can contribute to FTX right now, but he is facing several investigations at this point, but he wants to tell his side of the story.
I wonder how the people who lost money
he's going to be
will
able to tell it
to this interview.
And if he's
because
smart,
clearly
he's going to listen to his attorney's advice and not take the stand. But he's Sam, smartest guy in the room. Look at that. If you like the video and you want to see more, like and subscribe below. If you want to see another one, take a look back at the filing. This video right here, we're going to break down everything the new CEO has to say about Sam, his auditing practices, his accounting, and his potentially compromised situation. Not my words. Take a look at what FTX's CEO had to say. Thanks, guys. Another version coming at you. LegalBro, out.